serving up a dose of wisdom and humor with a dash of radiance. Welcome to Biscuits and Sunshine with your hosts, Callie and Landra.
Hey y'all, pull up a seat at our table for your next serving of Biscuits and Sunshine. I'm Callie.
And I'm Landra. We're delighted you're here with us. We're recording this from Distant Sport Audio Studios in Athens, Greece. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7. Bame, let's go. I have to start by saying, Callie, you and I had the best time yesterday.
We did. It was such an unexpected pleasure.
Yes. So we had gathered at one of our favorite coffee shops to work from on our Biscuits and Sunshine work. And then afterwards, we're like, are you hungry? Yeah. Okay. And I needed to pop in to Mac to get some makeup. And yeah, we ended up having the best time playing and getting some new cosmetics.
This is something that you and I have sort of made a habit of, where we'll be in the center and we'll just be having a wander. We end up in Mac and we decide a refresh is needed. As it turns out, our friend is getting married in June, and we thought yesterday we could both use a refresh. So we walk into Mac, they're having some sales, and who do we see? This delightful makeup artist that we had met 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Doing the same activity in Mac, refreshing what we've got. And yesterday he helped us create these beautiful looks that are going to be perfect for the wedding, but also kind of be colors and techniques that we can incorporate into our everyday lives. So Dimitri, thank you so much.
Oh, such a delight. And it was really fun because shortly after we first met him, we became Instagram friends. He moved to California and he did some work in like LA fashion. And he has such amazing artistic talent when it comes to doing makeup. And he just returned recently and started working back again at Mac. So it was kind of funny. It was like this full circle moment of like, oh, hey, you, like a little deja vu. And so that was so fun. And then knowing that we're recording today, I mean, it just was meant to be because we're going to talk about all things reinvention.
It's a great way to spend the day. And it's funny because I walked in and I immediately recognized him because we've been following him for several years.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, we know you. You're back from California. And there was this moment on his face where I'm sure he thought, who are these crazy ladies? But then he recognized us. It was just so nice.
It got me thinking when we came up with this topic to talk about reinvention, I think our minds went to like big things, right? Big changes, a reinvention of like who we were in America and like who we become in Greece. But yesterday reminded me it could be about the small changes. And for me, you know, when I think of reinvention, sometimes it's like, okay, I've thought a lot about this. I kind of overanalyze sometimes before I make changes. But yesterday just really reminded me that there's small changes over time that we kind of reinvent ourselves. And the other thing was, I thought what I love so much, especially when it comes to makeup, because I don't know, I just don't really think I have that natural talent. I'm also somebody that doesn't spend a ton of time doing my makeup every day. But what I love is, especially when you find the right people, whether it's in makeup or some other part of life, is I just fully was able to let go and trust and give him kind of some guardrails, like, you know, my style, like I'm a little more natural. And all the things he picked out were so complimentary to me. And yet these were things I would not have picked out for myself or techniques I would have known about.
It pushes you just a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes it so nice.
Yes.
Because you're not going to put the makeup on and think this doesn't look like me. You see your face and go, oh yeah, a slight change. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. You said comfort zone, that phrase. It makes me think anytime we're stepping outside the norm, that is a little nudge outside the comfort zone. Sometimes it's a welcoming thing and other times not so much. You know, things might force us to have to reinvent ourselves.
Like you said at the beginning, it's oftentimes the things that force us to change that we remember. It's not the small changes over time that we keep track of. And sometimes they're all changes for the good. You making small tweaks. James Clear has this book, Atomic Habits. Incredible if you've never read it. Talks about how the majority of people aren't able to affect lasting change because they lack patience. But if you can stick with the small incremental changes, it really can lead to changes that stick. Sometimes it's small changes that don't lead you in the direction that you want to go in. And we don't recognize these changes either until we feel so far removed from who we were who we are, who we want to be. And so I think it's very much a two-sided coin when we think about reinvention.
I so agree, Callie. I think, like you said, you get so far in a place possibly in life or different times. I know we both have been there and going, wait a minute, how did I get here? And then really forcing a change. Or there's that, oh, let me think kind of bigger. Where do I want to go? And more of that like vision kind of place where nothing might necessarily be wrong, but you just want something a little different. You want to elevate where you are. And that got me thinking, and this was funny. This Greek philosopher, Socrates, this is way before I met Alex. This is way before I think I even came to Greece in 2007. I came across this quote that he famously said that the unexamined life is not worth living. And really, that quote reminds us that blindly following habits and kind of accepting social norms without reflection can reduce us to just merely existing. And that really stuck with me. And it was a part of my journey of really consciously living my life. And I think I came across it. It had to have been when I was working and in grad school, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what you were saying, I don't want to be doing all this. This can't be all there is. And yet I didn't take the steps. I didn't know what was next, but that quote stuck with me. And then it's something I've continued to carry in my toolkit, if you will, for inspiration.
It's this idea of just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to pull out from your life and take a 30,000-foot view to say, it's not fair to me, to my loved ones, to the people that I'm trying to help, if I have to say, I only have to get through this. I only have to finish one more day of work and I'm at the weekend. Oh, if I could just get this done. I feel like it's very important for us to continue to examine our lives because it's important we live lives that are authentic to who we are. When authenticity and passion align, that's where the magic happens. And to be honest with you, that's why we've created a workbook. We are very excited to be able to provide a workbook for people who feel like they want to take the steps to create a life that is a bit more authentic to who they are, but maybe they don't know how. No matter where you are in that thought process, whether you've got it all figured out and you need a final push, or you haven't even had the chance to examine, is the life you're living the life you're supposed to have? This workbook can kind of guide you gently through different exercises to help you examine the life that you're living.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. And I know you all as listeners can really benefit from it. The nice thing, the way in which we kind of wove it together is that there's a thread that kind of moves you through. But we know that people are at different places in their lives. So you really can go through it chronologically, or you can kind of pick and choose and go, no, this is the place I want to start. There's also a time for reflection. There are different experiments that you can do to incorporate these little changes into your life because, like Callie, you spoke about earlier, it's these little things over time. And that's what makes it more digestible versus like, oh, I had to change this big, or I had to make a big habit, or I had to make this big change. No, not necessarily. It's moving more within alignment and at your own pace.
This is so important to us because we know what it feels like to think and feel something is missing or something is off. And if you think reinvention has to be something big, then you may never feel like you can accomplish that. But if we can reframe reinvention into these small steps, then it's something digestible and something that you can actually accomplish.
I know I have definitely been able to make these changes and to get in a place of really taking on bigger goals when I've been supported in community. So that is another aspect that we're really passionate about. And we'll be offering virtual gatherings to kind of help us come together. Yes, to hold space and time and for people to share, because I think we can get a lot of inspiration from one another. And we really hope that you all meet each other and maybe even kind of become accountability buddies or, grab another friend that doesn't know about Biscuits and Sunshine and bring them into the fold. Because that's really, at the end of the day, we love being here together, chatting with you all, but it's about a community. It's about a sisterhood, about learning from one another, about going through these different changes and phases in our lives and really empowering each other to live lives that generate joy. We are all deserving of that.
So está, sister. That is 100% right. You said it beautifully.
You know, I always know when it is the right thing because I freaking have chills right now.
Yay!
And it's warm in this room.
It is very warm in this room.
No, but it's just it's that full body sensation, which it is in my mindfulness, ladies, of course. It's in the book. I have to weave that in, but it is true. You know, I talk so much about this because mentors have taught me, and I too have begun to tune into it. Your body always knows before the mind knows. So that piece sometimes when you get those chills or the hair on the back of your neck stands up, like that's information. Those are indicators of like, ooh, this is good. Or like no, stop, run the other way. You know, our body knows.
Which really indicates to me that for you guys listening, you probably already know. You know the things that need to change. You know the areas in which you want to make different choices. And so hopefully the workbook helps guide you through that. It is a reframing. It's a mindset change. And those are the way that we make things stick. Community support, having guidance, all of these things are available to you. Whether you use us, whether you use the workbook, whether you find support in your already existing circle, we just want you to know you're not alone.
So thinking about reinvention, we've kind of spoken about the topic. Is there like a moment in time that is something you want to share? What have you learned in like an evolution or a reinvention? Of course, the most obvious one is like moving here, but there could be other ones in the archive of Calliope's life.
Let us go back. I think what wisdom has shown me is I don't have to actually reinvent myself in the ways that I originally think. Maybe it's because I'm Greek, I sort of tend to trend towards the dramatic. So I think maybe reinvention for me was always something that needed to be big. I had to move cities, I had to change jobs, I had to cut my hair, I had to do these really big things. And what wisdom has shown me is it doesn't have to be that. It really is incremental, small changes that will lead me to find the thing that I feel like I'm missing.
Oh my God, you mentioned hair. And I have to say, those are always the times when I've cut bangs. That's a reinvention. I mean, there's a whole process. And usually there is an event. You know, was it a breakup? What was it? You know, or just...
I was always too afraid to do bangs.
No, I did it and I love it. And I've been contemplating it. Now, you know, the whole like French girl kind of bob thing is really cute and cool. However, guys, the humidity, I don't know if I could pull it off here.
You do actually have very curly hair too.
I know. I do. But I will say that was like a moment. I was like, ooh, I'm feeling myself with the bangs. And it was kind of, actually, now I do remember, it was in between relationships. So yeah.
If we're being honest. Well, speaking of hair, when I was a freshman at university, all of my friends were picking up these different habits. And unfortunately, a lot of them had started smoking. But as an asthmatic, I knew that wasn't a choice for me. It's never something I wanted to do. So what did I do? I didn't get a tattoo. I didn't start using drugs.
I think I know. Okay, go ahead.
I dyed my hair red.
Oh.
Like maroon red. It was so bad. It was so bad. And thank God Facebook was not a thing when I first started university. It was not something that people were using because there was one photograph of me on the internet that you can actually see how red the hair is.
Oh, interesting. You know what I thought you were going to say? That's where, oh, go ahead.
What?
I thought it was going to be, this is where I picked up my, like, I love gin and tonics.
Oh, no, gosh. I didn't know. I was not a G&T girl until much older. That was an acquired taste.
Well, you know, I too did dabble with some red hair. My mom always let me know how much she did not think it was flattering on me.
Same.
But I don't know. I mean, there is different shades. And now that I look back at it, one of them one time was when I came to Greece early in that year. Yeah, it wasn't a good look. But there was another shade of red. And I'm talking subtle, but yeah.
Oh, well, there was nothing subtle about this. My grandfather actually ended up going into hospital during that time of my life. And I went to visit after a few weeks because he had stayed in hospital for a long time and wasn't really coherent. The thing my mom said to him the moment I walk in, bye-bye, you have to wake up to see how horrible Callie's hair is. And she didn't say the word horrible, but she was like, look in what your granddaughter has done.
Did she say it like Olivia Dukakis in, what is it, that movie? What was it? Still Magnolias?
Oh, God, no.
She's like, horrible.
Horrible. No. But it was a thing. And then I too recognized that it probably wasn't the right thing. So to get back to my original color, we dyed it so dark. I looked like Snow White. It was a black that almost looked blue. And I looked sick for like 6 months because it was the middle of winter. My skin was so pale. And finally grew out. And I thought, I love my natural color. I'll never do that to you again. Are there any moments for you prior to moving to Greece that were big sort of reinvention moments?
I mean, they are kind of like the bigger ones stick with you, right? Is what I was going to say. It was every time I was starting a new job, right? Every time I not only moved to Greece, but I talked about moving to South America. So when I made that shift, when I started to get into yoga, like there's like new habits that you're picking up, new routines, benefits that come with it. And then working for a yoga athletic wear company, then people kind of started to put those two things together. Like, oh, Landra is yoga. And then I did yoga teacher training. And I will say, I've since moved on from that. I've done more mindfulness, more meditation. I still will teach movement, but to me, it's more mindful movement because yoga sometimes has that like fast-paced vinyasa. And what I will say about this, what I've noticed over the years is like, it's been a good solid, maybe almost 10 years now. No, like 8 or 9 that I used to teach yoga formally. People still ask me, how's it going teaching yoga? I'm like, people, I don't do that anymore. But they so sometimes, and that's the thing too, I'm just thinking with reinvention, you might have moved on, but sometimes people have still just see you in a certain way. And that's funny too. And I was just thinking about like family, right? And friends that know you a certain way.
That's exactly where my mind went.
Yeah.
How many times growing up did I say to my parents, I'm not a child anymore. I need you to hear me. I feel like to me, that's where I have felt the most resistance in terms of I'm moving on and reinventing myself, but they still see me as the baby. I'll always be the baby. I get that. And now we don't have that issue because I'm a fully fledged adult and we are friends. I think we see each other more as peers, even if that's really impossible for your parents.
When I moved to Canada for a short time, the journey at that time, before that time I had been on, is really falling in love with myself first and saying, yes, I want that partner in my life. And then here comes Alex in our third date. I'm like, oh, I'm moving to Canada. So in a way, I felt like it was the universe saying, do you really want this? Okay, show us how bad you want this. And, I had always prided myself on being a career girl. And it was really interesting how he was like, just come back. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I just met you. Like, I have this career. How would that all work? And there was a shift that I had to say, wait, love is important too, and create more space for that. And so I did make the bold choice to step away from my job, to leave the job, come back, move in with him. And it was like a kind of a new path that I was kind of moving into. And I think another part that really I was already kind of moving in that direction, but it was a friend that had come up and met me in Vancouver. We went to a yoga class. I still remember it was early in the morning. It was a really heart-centered opening class. And we got coffee afterwards. And I was talking to her. I'm really struggling because, it was all about like setting big goals. I'm really struggling with this because I have this career portion, but then this love potential and like, I don't know what to do. And she's okay. And I just love her. She's so like to the point. She's like, let me just ask you this. What do you want the story to be? And I full on tears started welling up in my eyes and they just started to flow. And I literally was like, I want the story to be that this was like a great love affair, that I chose love. And then it all worked out. And again, chills are happening because, oh my God, I knew he was a good partner for me. And I knew in my heart what the right choice was. It was to move back and to follow my heart. Because guys, by that time, before I met him, I had tattooed a heart on my wrist, an open heart to remind me never to do something out of fear, but to always choose love because it always works out. So yeah, to me, I was like, whoa. So I love when I think back to is Lindsay, and we're not in touch anymore. She runs a kick-ass yoga company called Ritual Yoga. And she is just that like straight to the point type of person. That one question just broke me open and it gave me like this fast track to like go run towards it.
Our friend Sharn, her husband, has this trick where anytime we're back and forth between decisions, he's like, okay, heads or tails? Heads is one decision, tails is the other. And he flips it. And in the middle of it, he says, what do you want it to be, heads or tails? And you say, heads. And he says, okay, well, that's your decision. You don't even have to flip the coin. I think sometime when it comes to reinvention, we already know what we need. Like you said earlier, our bodies know. If we are living in alignment, if we are living authentically, if we listen to our bodies, that first step has already been taken.
Yeah. Just when we live in our head too much, it's not a good thing. It's
oh my gosh.
Right? Analysis paralysis can get us. Or I remember being a young child where I did swim lessons. And I think, again, being the first child, the oldest child, I had the parents, watch out, be careful. So I kind of feel like I'm always kind of like careful, cautious. And I remember standing at the edge of the pool. The swim teacher was like, okay, Landra, go, jump, jump. And I'm like, and I was so, like, I can't, hold on, just let me fix my swimsuit. Hold on, let me fix my hair. And it's just like, you just got to go. And because I've had those moments of, yes, moving countries, yes, making big decisions, every time it's like they say, jump and the net will appear. You just got to do it. It works out. And I even think about sitting there, I felt like an out-of-body experience when we were moving to Greece and we hired this company and they were in our house packing our stuff. And I was like, this is crazy. And I was telling Alex, I feel like I'm freaking free falling right now. What is happening? What are we doing? Is this the right choice? What's life going to be like? And it's like, you can't know all that. And there's no certainty. You just have to do the thing. And that's why they say you live and you learn.
When I bought my first house, my mom was helping me furnish it. And she surprised me with this beautiful piece of art that has a quote on it. And it says, but what if I fail? ? And the bottom says, oh, my darling, but what if you fly?
Oh, I love that.
And it's always something that she has instilled in me when I have moments of fear. When I was moving to Greece and I was like, what if I hate it? I got really nervous the night before I left. It's like, what if I hate it? And she said, will you come home? And it's such a beautiful thing to have parents who allow you to come home when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that what if I fly has sort of shaped who I am. Because like you said, jump and the net will appear.
Making big changes, there's parts of your life that are left behind or that change or they get rearranged, whether that's people, whether that's things, whether that's like proximity to certain places. I mean, all the things. And yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like part of reinventing yourself actually requires a little bit of letting go. Yes. But also there's grief involved in that.
For me, I sometimes have difficulty making decisions that I feel like are going to make a big impact on the trajectory of my life because I think I'm unwilling to mourn a life that I have imagined. And this is something I've struggled with, especially after relationships end or you make decisions that take you in a different path. And it's something that I've really sat with. And I think we have to be willing to, the Beatles say, live and let die. In order to truly live the life that's authentic to you, there are some things about yourself, habits you've picked up along the way, dreams that no longer fit you that you will have to let go of.
I'm thinking when you were just saying that, almost like the caterpillar that becomes a butterfly, or we had the year of the snake a few years back, the shedding of the skin. I think there are things that we might be carrying emotionally, physically. We talked about hair, like cutting that, letting that go. But yeah, it's interesting. I think of sometimes like those waves of nostalgia come up, especially as someone who has lived 5 decades now, which I'm like, what? It's like so wild to me. But what I've started to do and what I recommend if you are ever feeling that grief is holding that part of me with that tenderness and from like a memory perspective. And I almost imagine it as like this shelf in my mind where I get to like, place different parts of me on that shelf. I could always go back and revisit and see it. And maybe if I want to go back there again, return to a place, I can go back and reach for that.
It's your mind palace.
Ooh, mind palace. I love this.
I didn't come up with it. It's from the Benedict Cumberbatch version of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, interesting.
He stores things in his mind palace, but that was such a visual reference for me.
Oh, yeah. That's very cool.
One thing I wanted to say about grief, I was watching this interview with somebody, I have no idea who he was, but I really trusted him in the way he was speaking. And he was talking about the loss of his mom and how it still affected him. And he got teary-eyed during the interview. And he said something like, I have a good relationship with my kids, and I absolutely want them to live lives that are full of joy, but I also want them to have a decent amount of grief, because grief is proof that you've deeply loved. And I think whether it's a person, whether it's a dream, how great to have a dream that drove you to do certain things, to push you to certain things. I think it's very valuable for us to look at grief in that way, because if we're unwilling to let go of who we were, we won't ever really reach where we're going.
Yeah, we won't meet that new version of ourselves. And I think that's really it. I think, my own experience, death has really taught me that, move towards life. Don't shy away from it. The sadness is actually because of the beauty. And yeah, I just think that's me. And maybe that's just kind of who I am. But I'm like, oh my God, there's so much life out there. And I think traveling opened me up to that. I want to experience new things. I want to meet new people. I want to be kind of back to Lindsay's question of like, what do you want this story to be? I want the story to be, man, I danced tango in Argentina. I did this. I did that. I remember being in that moment in Argentina going, oh my God, who am I? I'm going to be the person I'm so proud of when I'm like 80 years old. I want more of that. That just, to me, I guess that's what drives me, really. What fuels me to kind of be curious and keep going. But I also had a father that was just, my dad. He was just so curious. He always wanted to do all the things, try all the food.
I read a study yesterday that said spending time viewing art and experiencing culture actually slows down your biological aging. When I think about your dad and my dad, they are people who love those things. They appreciate beauty and they are so curious and ask so many questions. And I know that fueled them and continues to fuel them to live these lives that are so inspiring to us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like something passing it on, right? Whether it's in their actions we're witnessing, but also maybe in our DNA that we're kind of wired that way. Oh, I love this so much. Our dads, special men.
For me, reinvention comes down to being brave enough to ask the question, does this life fit who I am? And hopefully when you ask that question, you can be honest with yourself about yes or no. If the answer is yes, more power to you. We applaud you. We want you to be a guest. Come and teach us your ways. If it's no, don't forget that there's a community of people out there who are having the same inner conversation and needing the same support. There is nothing wrong with identifying that the life you're living no longer fits. In my opinion, the worst thing you could do is stay in that life. And that doesn't mean divorcing your spouse and leaving your kids and joining a band or becoming a dancer on a cruise ship to get away from your problems. That's not what this is about. That's not what we're advocating for. It is about identifying the things that make you truly happy and finding that happiness within the life that you've built and just letting go of the things that aren't really who you are.
Our hope for you this week is that you embrace the moments to step outside of your comfort zone, explore curiosities, and give yourself permission to reinvent yourself at any time. Could be something really small or it could be something a little bit bigger.
If you love what we're serving up, be sure to subscribe and rate us on your favorite streaming platform. We're proud to now say you can find us anywhere podcasts can be found.
Also, head over to Instagram and give us a follow at Biscuits and Sunshine, all spelled out. And we'd be so honored if you share this podcast with a friend.
This is Biscuits and Sunshine with Callie and Landra.